Since its introduction at Pro Tour Philadelphia in 2011, Modern has been Magic's premier non-rotating format. Prominent decks of all kinds have emerged throughout its history, while several others have died off or banned entirely. To promote the format and appease its ever-growing fan base, Modern gets the spotlight once every year at the Pro Tour. But it comes at a cost. In this episode, we talk to Pro Tour competitors about the current state of Modern.
I think Modern is a cool format. I think the fact that it lets people, play decks, they sort of have their pet deck they want to play, and they can do it for, over the course of years. They can just keep it together and play that deck. That's really cool. I think that as a high-level competitive format, it's flawed because those decks that, people play for years will eventually feel oppressive. That, things like Birthing Pod, Splinter Twin, and end up getting banned to increase sort of the potential for diversity at the Pro Tour. I think it's a great Grand Prix level format, have a few of those each year, so you don't have the same pressure to have it withstand the sort of scrutiny that Pro Tours cause.
The thing people want, and this is especially true for newer players who have gotten into the game in the past 4 or 5 years, is a way to have their cards retain value. And Standard makes that difficult because cards rotate every 2 years, every 2.5 years. Modern gives you a way to make sure that Scapeshift, that just rotated out, or whatever, is still going to retain value, and it might still be a deck in Modern, so you can still play it. So I think that's very important, both for the longevity of the game and also for retaining, interest of players.
I do think that a format like that needs to exist. Like, there needs to be kind of like some security in Magic where it's just like your stuff is not going to always eventually rotate out and then become kind of worthless. So that format needs to exist, and Modern has done a fantastic job of that, I think, just outside of the Pro Tour level. And the Pro Tour level has made it so, people's cards get banned, and they don't like that very much. It's the same thing about their cards rotating and being worthless. Like, banning is the same thing, except it's just like, surprise, gotcha, like, your cards are gone now.
Well, I'm very happy they banned Summer Bloom. That deck was just annoying and kind of stupid. It just would win on like turn 2 some of the time, and there's just a huge amount of variance in whether or not that card was drawn, and had such a huge influence on the game. I also didn't like that deck because it played like a large number of cards that was not easy to understand. You're like, oh, I'm going to play Summer Bloom and I'm going to make 8 mana. And the other person is like, wait, what's happening? And then you have to explain to them that your bounce land is going to come into play, untap, tap for mana, and return itself. And a lot of matches of Modern, I'm sure the people you're playing against have never even seen a bounce land before. So they have to read that, read the Amulet, read the Summer Bloom, and you go, okay, now I have 8 mana. And I play Primeval Titan, and I get these 2 lands, and I do this. And it's like this convoluted combo where you're going through all these different steps and your opponent just kind of has to sit there and go like, sure. At least the Splinter Twin Deceiver Exarch combo feels like I'm doing one thing that makes another thing happen, and it goes back to the first thing. And that's interesting, It's totally reasonable for there to be an infinite combo that exists, like Kiki Jiki Restoration Angel. It's not too good. And it's easy to understand, and it makes sense. You want to pair those cards together. You see them, it's natural. So I didn't like that other deck because it was just so weird.
The banning of Splinter Twin didn't feel necessary to me. I never really felt the deck was super oppressive. I mean, it did keep some decks out of the format, arguably harming diversity a little bit, and also many blue-red decks were kind of forced to play the Splinter Twin combo because it was so powerful. But still, I didn't really like bannings. I would prefer to see unbannings rather, because it's just not nice to have like invested lots of time and effort into mastering a Splinter Twin deck and then get your deck banned when it is not completely necessary. Like, it wasn't completely dominating the format.
So I was an intern in Wizards for 6 months or so, and it's just like when I was there, this was during Khan's block development, there were some discussions of just like, is Twin too good? Like, we don't know. And eventually, we decided to not do anything about it, but it's like, it's always been this thing where it's like, since the first Modern Pro Tour, like, Twin has been a deck throughout the entirety of the format, and basically like no other deck really, except for like Zoo or Jund, really could say that. If this format is not what they expected it to be, it's not what they wanted, I mean, I would not be shocked if it got unbanned. But yeah, I was scared personally. I thought that Twin was the deck that was keeping like all the kind of messed up combo decks in check, and with it gone, it was just like, okay, like how do we turn 3 people for this Pro Tour? And it was kind of that, you know, it wasn't like Goryo's or Protean Hulk or anything like that, but it was just these very, very linear fast decks that have a combo feel to them. And if Twin were legal, that would not be the case. I don't know how, you know, the Twin Eldrazi matchup goes or whatever, but I do feel like it was a mistake. I would probably, you know, unban it. But again, like we have other things to deal with right now, I think. So.
One last time, we welcome you to the set of the Pro Tour. Oath of the Gatewatch was in the books after an amazing Sunday. And BDM, I'm just going to go one word, Eldrazi.
Yeah, there were Eldrazi everywhere. We had 3 different flavors of Eldrazi in the top 8. We had colorless Eldrazi. You could have blue-red Eldrazi, or you could have the ostensibly 3-colored processor Eldrazi.
Why don't we take a look at the bracket, and we'll show you how things started off here this morning.
At Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch, 8% of the field, a total of 32 players, piloted the new Eldrazi decks. 6 made the top 8, including the winner himself. By the end of the tournament, 22% of the 60 best performing Modern decks were Eldrazi, making it the most dominating archetype of the tournament. With access to 2 incredibly powerful lands from the original Zendikar block, these new Eldrazi decks have become Modern's primary target.
It's hard to say, because I mean, I think this Pro Tour is an indication of that, because every new set has the potential of putting multiple new cards into the format. You know, like Eldrazi Temple and Ayavugan, they weren't even played. Eldrazi Ayavugan was basically maybe a 2 of in Tron decks, or a 1 of even. And Eldrazi Temple never saw play in Modern. And now they're both 8 ofs in 6 of the top 8 decks. You know, there's 24 copies in the top 8, which is super interesting. But I think it goes to show that like any new cards that are printed forces us to go back and look at all the old Modern cards to see how they interact. And I think that makes Modern a very robust format.
I think that if you're going to ban a card, I think that Eldrazi Temple is actually potentially, you know, Eldrazi Temple or Ayavugan are the targets, basically. I don't like just constantly banning things in Modern. I think that it's possible that, like, what I would love to see would be a bunch of stuff actually just get unbanned at this point, because I think that at least now, you know, the power level of Modern is currently at the point that a lot of the bannings are sort of look embarrassing. It's like, you know, this is in this tournament, like people are casting 20 mana worth of spells by turn 3, and Bloodbraid Elf is banned. You know, Ancestral Visions is banned. It's like, you're never going to get a chance to cast that. You just have to turn 4, you should get a reward, you know? But, and I mean, this is a problem with Eternal formats in general, is that, you know, I mean, new interactions are going to keep coming up, new powerful things are going to keep happening. And if your response is continuously, well, we're going to get rid of that one, then I think you're gonna lose a lot of the point of having an Eternal format in Modern. Is that like people can't play the decks that they've put together that they like, that they want to play, which is really a lot of the appeal of the format to a lot of people. So my solution would be to unban a bunch of stuff and then just stop having Modern Pro Tours.
I don't think the sky is falling yet. We will see over the course of the next few weeks. Now that players know what the Eldrazi deck can do, there are going to be plenty of people trying to beat it. And I think there are a number of angles that you can take. You can attack their mana bases, either with something like a Blood Moon, or possibly Painter's Servant, by just turning the Eldrazi into a color rather than colorless, so the Eye and the Temple don't work anymore. Maybe you can go for some kind of combo deck, a combo deck that's not affected by Chalice of the Void or creature removal. Scapeshift comes to mind, for instance. Or, well, I don't know what the future will hold exactly, but I think there are plenty of ways that you can still attack the Eldrazi deck, maybe with some targeted sideboard hate. And I'm sure the best Modern brewers in the world are going to show us, over the course of the next few weeks, how to do it. So wait until then before deciding whether it is too oppressive. We may find solutions.
And now we move on, because Magic always moves on. But until we meet again on the Pro Tour or around the world, for Brian David Marshall from Pro Tour Oath of the Gatewatch, I'm your host, Rich Hagan, saying bye.